Chapter 1. The World Before the Opening of the Atlantic. Section 1. The Earliest Americans. The first migration to the Americas began with the Paleo-Indians, who crossed the Bering Land Bridge from Asia to present-day Alaska during the last ice age between 38,000 and 10,000 BC. What happened during the ice age is when the oceans froze, the water levels dropped. So when water freezes, it soaks up the water. And when it did that, it revealed a land bridge right here, where you follow my little pointer here. And that's where the land bridge developed. And people who were in Asia crossed over that land bridge and started to migrate kind of south, east into the Americas. This movement of peoples from one region, meaning Asia, to the next region, the Americas, this is called migration. These Paleo-Indians were considered nomads, and being nomads, they were hunter-gatherers. And if you remember from last year, hunter-gatherers are people who hunted their animals and they gathered wild plants. So they essentially followed their food. So if they're following the deer may have crossed that land bridge and so followed the people. So they didn't really know that an ocean was there where the Bering land bridge was. They just know that's where the animals went, they're following it. Same with their food. Once they eat up all the wild plants in that particular area, they're going to keep moving to find more wild plants to eat. However, as they keep moving further south and east, the climate starts to warm up. So they're actually leaving the area that was considered part of the Ice Age, and they start moving into warmer climate regions. And because they did that, it created new environments, which in turn developed something called culture, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, a group's common values and traditions. So we're going to talk about four early groups that will develop in the Americas. We consider this Mesoamerica and South America. These are some of the earliest civilizations that we know of in the Americas. And this is a result of these migrating Paleo-Indians who keep moving further south until they decide to settle down. So Mesoamerica, we'll start with that, is a region that includes Mexico, which you see right here. This is all part of today Mexico, and parts of Central America. So this would be the Central America part down here. This is Mexico right here. The earliest known civilization in the Americas were the Olmec. The Olmec developed around 1200 BC, and they are, like I said, the earliest known civilization in the Americas. So they're known for a few things here. They are the first to build pyramids in the Americas. They also grew a crop called maize. Can anyone think of what maize is? I'll give you 5 seconds. Maize is corn. And they were known for using stone in their architecture and their sculptures. They're known for creating these large stone heads, as you see in the picture here. Those are littered throughout where the Olmec were from. Now I'm going to look at this map here, and I'll show you, this is where Mexico is. The Olmecs are kind of that south or southern, like southeastern corner of Mexico. Let's have a little fun with our sculpture here. Put some sideburns. He looks great. The next civilization we'll talk about are the Maya. The Maya, as well as the Olmec, grew maize, and they created great pyramids, as you can see in this picture right here. These are some famous pyramids that the Mayas built. They also created temples and palaces. They were one of the first to have a writing system in the Americas, and they also kind of developed the concept of zero. If we're looking at the maps here, this is a part of Mexico called the Yucatan Peninsula. It's right here as well. That's kind of where the Mayas were, as well as they kind of creep down into a part of Central America as well. The third group we'll talk about are the Aztecs. Now, there's kind of a little myth about the Aztecs as to where they decided to form their civilization. And that civilization starts with a capital city called Tenochtitlan. and that is in the central part of Mexico. Today it's known as Mexico City, so it's still there today. But the myth basically goes that these nomadic Aztecs were wandering around and they would not settle down until they found this sign from the gods. The sign would be that they would find an eagle sitting on top of a cactus with a snake in its mouth. And as the Aztecs were wandering around, they come across this huge lake called Lake Texcoco. And what do they see right in the middle of the lake? They see a cactus with an eagle sitting on top of it and a snake. Today, it's their national symbol. You find it on their Mexican flag right there. So the Aztecs were also known as fierce warriors. Also, since they developed the city of Tenochtitlan in the middle of Lake Texcoco, obviously it's built on an island in the middle of the lake, they have to be able to get from places, so they built up ramps so they can get across the lake. But they were also farmers, and you might think, why or how were they farmers in the middle of a lake? Well, they had these kind of floating, it looked like floating baskets where they could plant crops on, and these were called chinampas. So we've talked about the Olmec, the Maya, and the Aztecs. All three of those civilizations were in Mesoamerica. The fourth group we'll talk about, the Inca, actually formed in South America in the Andes Mountains of South America. So if we're looking at my map here, these are the Andes Mountains. This is where the Inca civilization developed. Mainly centered right around this area, which is today called Peru. They built a capital city up in the mountains called Cusco. In this picture right here, you see the remains of a very famous Incan city called Machu Picchu. That's kind of close to where Cusco is. And also, because they're in mountains, they have to be able to travel, so you see a lot of rope bridges in South America or in the mountains of the Andes because of the Incas. That's the end of section 1.